Okay, good morning everyone in Chazak. Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning. Monday morning, my friends, as we are post Yom Kippur, getting ready for an amazing upcoming holiday, the holiday of Sukkot. Holiday of Sukkot is a most beautiful Chag. There is so much to talk about. Today I'd like to share with you an idea from, of course, Rabbi Bernstein on his beautiful holiday of Sukkot book. Okay, so if you're looking for one on Sukkot, highly suggested, where he has amazing themes and concepts and ideas. The holiday of Sukkot, we know, of course, there's two main mitzvot that we have to do. Number one, building and sitting in a sukkah. And number two, the shaking of the four species. So today I want to focus on the first one, on the mitzvah of eating in a sukkah. We know that you need to have a kosher sukkah. If you have a family member that's building a sukkah, please do them a favor and be their rabbi and go over and check the sukkah for them. A lot of people don't even know the rules. They just think you got to put something on top with branches. The guy sent me a picture asking me if this was kosher. There was his parents' sukkah. It was the most pasul sukkah you ever saw in your life. There's nothing kosher about it, okay? They don't know, it's not their fault. But that's what I'm saying. Do people a favor, help them out. If you know a family member that's building a sukkah, go and look for them. What does a sukkah need to have? First of all, a sukkah needs to have walls. How many walls? Technically, two and a little bit. It's called shte amot vetefah, okay? That's the language in the pasuk. So a sukkah has to have walls. They have to have a certain width. They have to have a certain height. Okay? The walls can be made out of anything. A wall can be attached to the ground. The wall can be the wall of your house. It can be whatever. Wall is wall. But it has to have a certain width and it has to have a certain height. So if you have in your backyard a beautiful outdoor space with 4 pillars, and they create a little shaded area, that's not enough, because that's 4 corners, you need walls, okay? Another halacha is interesting about the schach. We know the schach is where all the laws really come in. But the schach cannot be made out of anything. You cannot, as opposed to the walls, which can be made out of plastic or metal or anything you like. Though the sechach has to be made out of actually something that grows from the ground. It cannot be attached to the ground. And most importantly, even if you have those two, grows from the ground, not attached to the ground, can I use grapes? Can I put grapes on my sechach? You cannot put grapes. How come? Grapes grow from the ground, they're not attached to the ground. The answer is because it has to be something that is not mekabel tum'ah. It has to be something that's not the actual item, but external to the item, like the leaves, the peel, but it can be the actual item. In the words of the pasuk, it says, Hag HaSukkot ta'aseh lecha shiv'at yamim. You shall make the festival of Sukkot for 7 days. Be'osfecha megornecha u'miigbecha. As you gather in from your threshing floor. This is telling us about the time of the year. It's talking about as you're gathering in. When the harvest is taking place, you know, Sukkot's a very happy time. Payday, okay? When you get your check, that's a year's work, 6 months work from Pesach to now, as you, right, harvest and dry it out, right? And you finally bring it into the house. This is Hag HaAsif, gathering in, le'esof. On Sukkot, we gather in all the money. So it's a happy time. Now we understand why it's Hag, right? Simcha maybe. Maybe it's why it's a happy day. Because it's payday. But either way, the Torah says, as you bring in the money, as you bring in the wheat, the migornecha migvecha. So that's what it's talking about on a simple level. It's talking about the time of the year. But the Gemara learns over here a deeper lesson. Be'osfecha migornecha migvecha is also teaching me the laws of what the schach is allowed to be made out of. It has to be made out of psolet, goren, veyekiv. It has to be made from that which remains on the threshing floor. Okay? So, what do you keep on the threshing floor? The chaff, the husk. That's what you can use for the schach. You cannot use the actual wheat. You understand? So that's where we learn that halakha from. Because it has to be something that remains. Okay. So that's another halakha. So we have the walls. We have the schach. We have also the height of the sukkah. The walls. There's a minimum height and there's a maximum height. Anyone know the maximum height of a sukkah? Interesting halakha. A sukkah cannot be higher than 20 amot. 20 amot. And of course, with all of this, we have the special time of the year, Zman Simhatenu, that the holiday of Sukkot is our time of happiness. So today I'd like to share with you an idea of maybe learning from these laws. These are obviously laws that we have to follow. They're technical. But why is it that these are the dimensions? Why are these the laws? What is the message maybe that we can learn from each of these? The first lesson, the walls of the sukkah, comes from a pasuk in Shir HaShirim. The pasuk says, Semolo tahad leroshi vimino tehabekeni. That his left arm is under my head, and his right hand, his right arm hugs me. Hashem, his left arm is under our head, his right arm hugs us. Vimino tehabekeni. What does that mean? His left is under my head and his right is hugs me. The Arizal gives the most beautiful explanation. Left, we know, as opposed to right, left represents the attribute of justice, deen. Right is rahamim. Right is mercy. Whenever we speak of kindness, we always speak of right hand. When we ask God to bring us in with teshuvah, we use the right hand. Ki yeminecha peshuta lekabel shavim. Your right hand opens up to bring those in. So the right hand represents kindness. That's always why, by the way, you want to use the right hand whenever doing a mitzvah. So as an example, when you're holding the three species, you're going to hold them in your right hand. The etrog in the left, because the three majority goes in the right. When you're holding the cup of kiddush on Friday night, you should hold it with your right hand. If you're lighting Shabbat candles, you should light them with your right hand. Obviously, if you're steady in your right hand, God forbid we don't want anything fire, dangerous. But always the right hand, right? If you're hitting your kids, you should, no, I'm kidding, okay? You should never hit your kids. But either way, you get the point. Right hand is in Judaism given priority. Why? Because right is hesed, right is kindness. When you propose, you use the right hand under the chuppah, okay? Left is din. Says the pasuk in Shir HaShirim, Semolo tahad leroshi, that God's left arm was there during the time of Roshi, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. That's the Yom Din. That's the time of judgment. That's the left hand of God. Vimino, in his right hand, he hugs me, tehabekeni, and the holiday of Sukkot. On Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we saw God's left hand, and right now we're moving over to God's right hand. Vimino tehabekeni, which means obviously God doesn't have hands. But what it means is that we are about to experience Hashem's love. We're about to walk into His shade. That's the Sukkah. That's the Shekhinah. We're about to walk into His right hand. He's going to give us a hug. Now we understand why the Sukkah has to have 2.5 walls. Because look at a hug. If you hug someone with your right hand, it creates one wall, and a third wall. 2 and a little bit. 2 and a tefach. A tefach is this. When you hug somebody, God says, get in here. And maybe that's why the Sukkah, those are the dimensions. When we're sitting in the Sukkah, we need to feel Hashem's hug. The Sukkah, don't forget, is a reminder that Hashem watched over us in the desert for 40 years, that we had the clouds protecting us from the heat, from the arrows. So today we don't have the clouds, but we still have Hashem's protection. Thousands of missiles into Israel. And we're here, very few of them hit. Hashem is protecting us tremendously. The stories, the miracles that we see going on, not only in Israel, everywhere. There's an iron dome over every Jew. The protection, it's 70 wolves surrounding one sheep. And we are here, and we're not only here, we're alive, we're strong, we're successful. Columbus was Jewish. They just found out. Of course, now they're going to cancel him, obviously. But you know what I mean? Look what we contributed to the world. This is Hashem's protection. Vimino tehabekeni. Hashem hugs us with his right hand in the holiday of Sukkot. So that is the first message. The second message. The sechach needs to be made out of, like we said, the shell. It cannot be made out of the actual grape. You can't use the grape for the schach. You got to use the shell of the grape, or whatever it is, the external, the item that supports. What lesson is that teaching us? That's teaching us, my friends, that in life, the physical things of this world are not the ikar. We should not pursue them for their own end. It's not the goal of life. The physical is only there to support. You got to use those things as the schach. It's only the support that we're allowed to use. We should not make the physical things in life the priority. And a person cannot forget that. Sometimes we make the physical world the ikar. We forget that the reason we have a car is not to have a car. You see a guy that forgets that. He spends his whole day owning the car, shampooing the car, cleaning the car, covering the car. His whole life revolves around the car. You say, what a silly guy. The car is there to get you to places. But imagine the guy buys a car and he sits in the car. Where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. What do you mean? So what'd you get a car for? Just to have. The car is a vehicle. It's a tool to get you from point A to point B. No one goes in a car just to sit in a car. Well, that's normal people shouldn't. That's not a normal thing. A car is where are you going? Don't make the physical the goal of life. Remember, it's only there to serve, to protect, to lead to. Person has to remember that the physical things in this world are there to support the spiritual things. Person makes money. Why do we have money? Money's not to save and to have and to stare at and to collect. Money's not a collection item. There's no goal in having money. The goal of life, we have to make it bigger than that. Money is something to use. We make money, we have money, and then we have to spend the money. And Baruch Hashem, we have things to spend on. Sometimes a guy gets annoyed when he has to spend money on holiday food, clothing, bar mitzvah, wedding. Remember, you made the money for this. This is the goal. It's like a guy gets a car and then he gets annoyed that he has to drive to go see something, see someone, to go to work. Gets annoyed. Oh, now my tires are all dirty. You fool. You got the tire. You got the tire so that you can you got the car so that you can dirty the tires so you can get to the places that you need to get to. The money is to be used for our children, for mizvot, not to have, not just to save, to look at, to admire. Very sad when a person forgets that. And this world does a good job. We need holidays like Sukkot to remind us. Remember the story of Rothschild. When he passed away, he wrote in his will that he wanted to be buried in his socks. He had a pair of socks that he loved. And they went to the rabbis, the Hevra Kadisha. They said, Rabbi, could you please bury our father with the socks Now, we know the rule, you're not allowed to do that. They said, listen, we can't bury people with clothing on, but please, our father, make an exception. He was a big philanthropist. We can't. They tried making, asking, looking. No loophole. Of course, they buried him without socks on. A day later, they're sitting Shiv'ah. The lawyer comes in with the second letter from the will. And it says, my dear children, by now you realize that even socks I wasn't allowed to be buried with. I wanted to show you that even socks you cannot take with you to the next world. Even socks you can't take with you. So don't save it. Don't hold on to it. You can't use it in the next world. We could take, what we can take is the money that we gave to tzedakah. What we can take is the money that we gave to somebody to put a smile on their face. That smile you could take with you forever. Vesitkato omedet la'ad. That's why Hashem blessed you with money, to use it. Maybe Hashem blessed you with status. Remember, He didn't give you that status just for status sake. The status is only a shell. It's there to support something more. You got to ask yourself, why did Hashem give you status? What are you going to do with it? Who are you going to maybe help, inspire? You're very good with your words. What are you doing with those words? He didn't give it to you just to hold on to, just to collect, just to save. He gave you that power. He gave you that koah. But you got to use it for something more. Anything in life that Hashem has blessed us with, we have to always ask, how can I use this for something greater? Even beauty. Beauty, Judaism doesn't throw out the window. We don't say to money or to every, right? We don't put in the garbage. We don't put in the garbage. We value. We value money. We value beauty. But only as a means to an end. Beauty is something that we use for something higher. Take a beauty. Now make a beautiful Torah. Now make a beautiful lulav. Now make a beautiful sukkah. You have good interior decorating. How are you going to use that for Hashem? Maybe you're going to design a temple. Who knows? But you got to use that for good. Beauty, right? That's the whole pasuk of Sukkot. Pri etz hadar. A beautiful fruit. A fruit has to be used in a beautiful way. Beauty is, yes. That's the difference, by the way, the only difference between us and the Greeks. The Greeks valued beauty for beauty's sake. The Greeks idolized beauty, period. They have statues of the human body. Just the body, that's it. That's the goal. That's the idol. That's the dream. Of course, as a Jew, we don't value just beauty. What are you doing with that beauty? How are you making it for something higher than yourself? Everything in the world is like that. Even eating. A person can eat just to eat, to enjoy food. A person can eat to elevate the experience, to get closer to Hashem, to be healthy. This is, by the way, the midah Ramchal speaks about it in Mesilat Yesharim chapter 16. He speaks about a midah called tahara. What does tahara mean? Tahara is not what you do. Tahara is why you do it. Why are you working out right now? So you can have a strong built body to show off? Or you're working out so that your heart's healthy, so that you can be functioning normally, so that you can have long life, so you can go and serve Hashem later, so that you can pray better, so that you can learn better, so that you can help people better. Because if you're strong, then you're able to do, then you're able to function. Why are you working out? Why are you eating? You can eat to enjoy taste buds, not asur, but there's much higher. Tahara is higher. It's taking it for something higher. And that is the lesson of the psolet, goren, veyekev. in general, it's always important to constantly remind ourselves the things that we want in life, the things that we have in life. Why do we want them? Why do we want? If you're going to pray to Hashem for marriage, why do you want to get married? Why do you want a husband or a wife? Ask yourself that question. Just so you can have someone there to take care of you? That is a lower level. That marriage may last, it may not. The moment they stop taking care of you, you may get, you know what, I'm out. You got married for you. In the words of Pirkei Avot, that's an ahava shetiluya badavar. That's a love that's built on something physical, material. Love that's based on something that you want for yourself. That's building on a weak foundation. But there's a higher foundation. That's ahava she'ena tiluya badavar. And ahava, that love that's not built on something that's for you to take. It's built on something deeper. A goal, a purpose. And we always tell the Hatan and Kala under the Chuppah, we remind them of this. We call up 7 people to say 7 beautiful blessings, and each blessing is another piece of advice for the Hatan and Kala. And one of the blessings, She'akol bara lichvodo. We tell the Hatan and Kala, remember, you're not in this for yourself. You're in this lichvodo. You're here to build his world. It's very important when you get married to somebody, you remember that. You have to ask yourself, are we in this together? Do we have the same values? Are we in the same direction? Are we here to build his world? Are we here for him? For something bigger than myself? That marriage will last. Even if sometimes there's bumps. But I'm not here for me. We're part of a team. We're here for the team. We're here for the greater mission. So when you pray for a shidduch, you got to ask yourself why. When you pray for a child, why? Why do you want a kid? Because they make you happy? It's not why we have children. We have children to raise the next generation. We have children because that's the mitzvah. We're here to build the future. We didn't have kids for our own pleasure. We didn't have kids so that we could receive nahat. That's not why we had them. It's important not to get confused. It's not why you had them. To make you look good. Hashem gave you this soul. He knows that you are the one that's going to be able to shape this soul. You're not a parent to receive, you're a parent to give. Why do you want money? Why do you want it? Ask yourself when you pray to Hashem, I want money. Why? Why do you want it? If God were to say why, what would you answer? So to use whatever we have for higher. Bechol me'odecha. We say every morning, every night, we have to love God. Bechol me'odecha. What does that mean, bechol me'odecha? Bechol midah o midah. Whatever me'od, whatever He blessed you with, whatever your talent is, to ask ourselves, how can I use that for Hashem? And that takes us to our third point. Because the holiday of Sukkot is the holiday of Simcha. It's the time of joy. Always supposed to be Besimcha, but most in the year is right now. Zeman Simchatenu. It doesn't say it by any other holiday as much as it says it in this holiday. How interesting that the time of happiness, the time that the Torah wants us to be the happiest ever, is a time that the Torah says, leave your house. Go out of your comfort, your bed, your king mattress, your couch, your comfortable life. Get out of all of that. Sit in an uncomfortable house. Dirat arai. Sukkah cannot be a permanent structure. It should not be. It should be a temporary dwelling. The Torah is reminding us that the joy that you're going to get in life, don't think it's going to come from those things in the house. Don't think the joy is going to come from money. It's not. That's not where your pleasure is going to come from. Today we live, by the way, where we have more things than ever. We have more than ever. More pleasure, more convenience, more comfort. Think about, we have air conditioning and heat. You want the temperature 71, 72, 71.5, right? How do you want it? You want a lot of light, you want no lights. Today we have a lot of convenience, a lot of comfort. It's interesting, in the US, it's one of the wealthiest countries in the world. When it comes to happiness, US is not even in the top 10 of the happiest countries. When it comes to mental health, it's one of the highest. America. There is no direct correlation between having money and being happy. Actually, money definitely makes life easier, and it can increase levels of happiness. They did a study though, they showed that that's only when you hit the number, okay, and maybe for Jewish you need a little bit more, but the number is $75,000 annually. But after that, after you're making enough just to be, again, you need a certain amount of money to be able to be food and drink and place to live. But once the number hits 75,000, the happiness plateaus. More money after that doesn't bring more happiness. Before that, yes, you need more to be happier because you can't be broke, you can't be poor, so you need to have for happiness. But once you hit a certain number, the happiness stops increasing. Because more money doesn't necessarily lead to more happiness. That's a very powerful lesson that we learn on Sukkot. Don't think you're going to be more besimha. You can find the same simha outside of your house. You don't need that, all those comforts. Because happiness doesn't come from the material things. Happiness comes from living a spiritual life. Happiness comes from living a life of purpose. That's what Viktor Frankl wrote in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. That's where simha comes from. When a person has meaning in their life. If you have meaning, people that have spirituality, people that have religion, they have meaning. They have purpose. They wake up. There's purpose, there's goal. There's day-to-day goals of giving tzedakah and putting tefillin and praying. There's weekly goals, there's yearly goals, there's life goals. But Judaism, religion gives you goals, it gives you purpose, it gives you direction, it gives you meaning. That's where happiness comes from. You're seeing today kids all over on campuses. They don't have meaning. That's why they're running to join any parade, even if it's for murderers and rapists and terrorism. But they don't have meaning. They want something to live for. So they'll jump on whatever parade there is, whatever, because they need something to march with. They need to feel like they're part of something important. Now, unfortunately, they're being misguided. They're being blinded. They're being told that they're the underdog, they're the victim, and that's today's world mentality. Whoever's the victim is obviously in the right. Whoever's wrong, right? Whoever's more powerful is wrong. But the point is the same. They're joining only because their life is so empty. They don't have any meaning. They want to feel like they're doing something that's worthwhile, that's important. I'm marching for life. Because that's where simha comes from. They're looking for happiness. They're looking in the wrong place, but they're looking for happiness. They want to stand for something. That's where simha comes from, my friends. Simha comes when we have purpose in life, not from things. By the way, sometimes you get blind again in this world. Because like a drug could fool you temporarily to filling a need, a craving. Guy's hungry, he eats candy. Candy's filled with drugs, you should know. They make you feel, that's why you want to have more. Chocolate and all these things, they're addictive. And they make you temporarily feel like you're full. You feel like temporarily you feel the craving. Now really you're not. Your body's still lacking nutrition. You still want more. But it fills a temporary void. The same thing is with things. Sometimes they temporarily fill a void. I get a new shirt, a new shoes, a new pocketbook, a new car, a new gadget. So temporarily it makes me feel good. It fills it temporarily. That's not real simha. Real simha comes again, but we lose perspective in life. That's why the word sukkah, by the way, the word sach, anyone know what it means? Lasuch? It means something, it's a verb. We're going to read soon in the beginning of the Bereshit, there were two girls. One, her name was Yiska. Yiska is actually, some say Sarah Imenu. Yiska, from the word sochechin, everyone would see her beauty. So the word Yiska is to look, to see, to gain perspective. And that's what Sukkah is all about. Look around the table in your Sukkah tonight, when you're sitting in the holiday. What do you have with you? You have your kids, you have your spouse, you have some food, you have conversation. That's life. That's where simha is going to come from. Whatever's in here. You're not going to get simha. You don't need the things out there. You don't need it. It's to recalibrate, to remind us of what's important in life. It's a very interesting time of the year that the holiday comes in. Like we said earlier, it's a time that we gather in the produce. It's payday. Guy could think that the money's going to make me happy. Could get carried away with the physicality, with the materialism. So it's precisely in this time, very appropriate. Torah reminds a person, don't think that your simha is going to come from what you just made, what you brought in, the wheat. You got to use it for something higher. When you use it for something higher, that's where happiness comes from. And finally, one last lesson. And that is the height of the sukkah. The sukkah cannot be taller than 20 amot. Up to 20. 21, no good. Why? Gemara on first page, Daf Bet, first page of the book, gives three opinions. And one opinion is that if a sukkah is taller than 20, then your shade is no longer coming from your sechach, rather it's going to be coming from your wall. At a certain point, when it's so tall, the taller you get, the less you're relying on the top for your shade, the more you start getting shade from your wall. And that's not allowed. The shade's got to come from the sechach. What's the lesson on this one? That the shade has to come from the up, not from the sides. Not from the walls that you built, but from the sechach, which represents, again, the schach is the shade, the schach is Hashem, the schach is above. The shade has to come from the sechach, not from the walls. So over here, the Aruch LaNer gives something very powerful. And he takes us first to a midrash. We know that Yosef HaTzadik was in jail for 10 years for doing nothing wrong, by the way. And in jail, one day after 10 years, he sees his way out. He sees the butler has a dream. And he says to the butler, you're going to get out of here in 3 days. Just do me one favor. Please get me out of here. Put in a good word to Paro. Of course, the butler left in 3 days, and he did not remember Yosef. The Pasuk says he didn't put in a good word. He forgot about him. And Yosef stuck for 2 more years in jail. Vayhi miket shenatayim yamim. Well, after 2 years, then Paro had a dream that he's on the Nile, and also in the Nile maybe, but he was on the Nile River, and he had to get the dream interpreted. So they called Yosef after 2 years, and that's when Yosef rose to greatness. But that was only after 2 years. But really, when the butler left, he forgot about him. Our rabbis say Yosef was punished. Yosef was punished 2 more years in jail. 2 more years, right? Why was he punished for 2 more years? Because our rabbi says something very hard to understand. Because he had a lack of bitachon. He didn't have full trust in Hashem. How come? Because he asked the butler for help. And the question, what's wrong with asking the butler for help? Isn't that hishtadlut? Isn't that part of my due diligence? Aren't we supposed to go to work? Aren't we supposed to go to a doctor? Aren't we supposed to ask for help? Of course, Hashem's in charge. But I gotta do my part. I can't sit back, not take medicine and think Hashem's gonna save my life. You're not allowed to do that. If a guy on Shabbat says, I trust in Hashem, I don't want to break Shabbat, and his life's in danger, his life is on his own shoulders. You have to call the Hatzalah. You got to do what you can. So Yosef's punished, but what did he do wrong? Just to ask for help. I think that's a normal thing. He explains most beautiful answer. The Pasuk says, we say it in Birkat HaMazon, Baruch HaGever tadadadam asher yiftach b'Hashem, right? What does that mean? Baruch HaGever asher. This is a pasuk from Yirmiyah, by the way. It's not a song. Baruch HaGever. Blessed is the man asher yiftach b'Hashem, who trusts in God. Ve'haya Hashem miftaho. And Hashem will be his security. What does that mean? What is the difference between the first half and the second half? Blessed is a man who trusts God, and God is his security. Isn't it the same thing? If I trust God, then God's my security. Listen to what Rav Etliger explains in the Aruch LaNer. It's very possible for a person to trust Hashem, but at the very same time, to have something else as his security. When a person does hishtadlut, and a person knows Hashem's going to send the bracha, but he knows that the bracha that God's going to send has to be obviously through this avenue. It's going to come from this direction. So he trusts that God is blessing, but he also thinks the security of what's going to make the blessing work is this thing, or this person, or this doctor. A lot of times in business, guy knows Hashem's blessed. I need Hashem. But it's going to come through this job, through this customer. So he's trusting God, but his security is not in God. That was the mistake of Yosef. He knew Hashem's blessing, but he also really believed that the way I'm getting out of here is through the butler. That's the mistake. At the end of the day, it didn't come from the butler. Of all places, it came from Paro's dream 2 years later. So you got to believe in life. You got to do your part. You got to do your due diligence. But not only do you have to trust that Hashem's going to bless your due diligence, but you have to also trust that Hashem can bring the Yeshua from any which way. The Jewish people, when they were stuck in Purim, the last place they thought the Yeshua was going to come from was from Esther going into Ahashverosh when she wasn't wanted. He didn't call me. Mordechai, we can't go this way. Hashem will help us, but a different way. And Mordechai reminds her, Hashem iftaho. Hashem could do it in any which way He wants. Don't think you know which way the beracha is going to come from. Beracha is going to come from Hashem. You got to do your part here, but it may not come from here. That's what the shade represents. Shade means the beracha is going to come from the sechach. If the beracha comes from the wall, don't ever think it's going to come from the shade that's going to come from the wall that you built. You got to build a wall. But ultimately the beracha is going to come from the schach above, from Hashem. You got to take out the customer, you got to wine and dine him, you got to talk to him, you got to do everything with him. When all said and done, you got to know with 100% bitachon, and again, this is a very hard thing when you're actually in the test. This is the test. It's easy to talk about it here in a closed classroom setting. But bitachon means that after I do everything with the customer, he may pull the deal, he may cancel the order. And it does not matter one bit, because either way I know Hashem is miftaho. I have my security in Hashem. He canceled the $45,000 deal. But it doesn't matter, because my bitachon is not only in Hashem, but my miftaho is also in Hashem. I also trust not only in God, but my security is in God. Sometimes we have our trust in Hashem and our security in this guy. But it doesn't matter. It's not this guy. This guy could cancel the deal. What does it matter? I still got Hashem. Hashem was the deal the whole time. This guy can't. Someone else comes in the picture. A doctor. Doctor could say what he wants. He could do what he wants. At the end of the day, the deal's going to come. Whatever doctor, whatever avenue Hashem sends my way. That's where the beracha is going to come from. Of course, we vote. We vote for who we think is going to be the best for the Jewish people, for who we think is going to be best for the country. But even if the other person wins, miftaho means that I trust that even with this way, Hashem is still running the show. Even if the other guy wins, I still will get the result that we need. My beracha is not going to only come from this candidate. Protection is not going to come only from this president. Of course, I think so. And I do my due diligence. But I need to remember that Hashem's in charge no matter what. Can't talk in a way, oh, if that person wins, we're finished. Can't talk like that. We're not finished. We think that the beracha comes from that way, so we vote that way 100%. Finished? Miftaho! That's what Yosef said. Yosef said, if the butler doesn't get me out of here, I'm finished. Hashem, please help me through the butler. God says, you sure the butler's your way out? Where's your miftaho? Maybe the king's your way out. We never know where beracha is going to come from. We never know where the chinuch of our children will come from. Guy could spend thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands on his kids' tuition and education. But maybe the lesson that they're going to learn most in life is not in the yeshiva that you spend all the money on, but it's from how you acted when you were sitting at a restaurant, or how you sat at the Shabbat table, or something that you said as you were walking to a shul together, or to a Yankee game together. Maybe it's that one comment that's going to resonate with your kid forever. And it's going to make your kid decide, you know what, I want to be Jewish, I want to marry Jewish, I want to stay honest, I want to be religious. We never know where the beracha comes from. You think your child's success comes from this place? Miftaho. We have to know it could come from many places. And this is the lesson from the walls, the height of the walls of the Sukkah. So I think these are some beautiful thoughts to meditate on, to think about, as we have just a couple of days away, the beautiful holiday of Sukkot. May we remember that Hashem is hugging us, that He loves us, that the things in life don't bring happiness. Opposite, we see today, we have the things and we're not happy. necessarily. The money comes when we use the things for something bigger, for something higher. That's how simha is attained, true joy. That the Sukkah should give us back proper perspective in life. To always remember that no matter how hard we try, Beracha comes not only from Hashem, but the Beracha will come from Hashem however He wants to send it, not how we want to receive it. It may come here, it may come from another place. Bezat Hashem, we'll always see the blessings in our lives. We'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.